Hey, what's up, everyone? You're currently tuned into TBD on KCSB FM 91.9 Santa Barbara. Today, Light Talk and I are joined by Zoom audio label boss, George Chen. How's it going, George?
Great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, dude. I'm gonna say it again, but it was nice meeting you at the P Nuzzle show at Zebulon a couple weeks
Yeah.
ago. That was sick.
Yeah. That was great to see both those bands playing again. And I went to the Pomona show too. So I kind of got a double dose of everything.
What'd you think of the Pomona show? Because I feel like I didn't get to go to the Pomona show, but like I love all those bands that were playing with them. I just thought that was like so sick that they got like such a good lineup
Yeah.
put together for them. You know what I mean?
Punxsutawney is the only band I had kind of known before that. And actually seen them at that same venue, maybe like 3-4 weeks earlier. Like this weird thing of just like, you can win tickets on Instagram for things. I was just like,
Yeah.
saw they were posting like, hey, does anyone want to see Punxsutawney and Figure Eight from Oakland
Oh, that's sick.
in Pomona? And I was like, oh, I have a friend out there I should go visit. So I just like, I'll try to get those tickets. And I won tickets. So it was cool just to drive out there and see the venue before that show, because I was also kind of curious, like, how is this going to go?
Yeah.
Like, how are they going to sell like 200 or 150 or whatever it was? People in there. Was it 200? It might have been 200. It didn't feel like you could get 200 people in there, but they somehow did.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. No, it was great. And then also the energy was all way younger. This was like kind of the conflict of when we were putting that show together at Zebulon. There was like the competition of Rocket Ship was also playing.
Oh, I did not realize that. That's
Rocket Ship was playing, and also they're like, we really want to do all ages. I'm like, in LA, if you're going to try and do all ages, there's not too many options.
Yeah.
And at the point of like, this is unproven. Like the last time this band played in LA was probably like 1998 or something, right? Like
yeah.
It's like not a proven market. I'm like, I think we're pretty lucky to get Zebulon, honestly.
Yeah.
Feels like a pretty good get for a Saturday,
For sure.
especially. And it was also the first time I put something on there. So it was just like, okay, I think we kind of just got to do this. And they're just like, well, we really want to do it all ages. I'm like, we could do the smell, but I don't think you're going to be happy doing the smell. I think you'll be much happier. You're going to come all the way down here and want to play. You're playing one. I think that was before I knew about the Pomona show. So it's just like, I'm not worried about the Rocket Ship thing. It's obviously like friends of ours were also on that show. Like there's a lot of Bay Area friends.
Yeah.
Were at that show as well. Like, I think Kids on a Crime Spree opened that up.
Yeah. So sick. And then Tony Molina too, right? Or something.
Tony Molina. His wife Alicia was in Pound Sign and Eiler Set.
Oh, crazy!
So,
that's wild.
So there's all this that itself is kind of this interesting overlap of like old school and I wouldn't say new school, slightly newer school. It's like what I said about what we were talking about this festival I was at, Open Melody a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, I went on Saturday.
Oh, you were there on Saturday. I'm like, at last, Gen X and millennials brought together.
Yeah, right.
Did you get to go to all 3 days of Open Melody? Was that the one at 2220?
Yeah, it was a big festival 2020. My friend Sam put it on with other friends like Pauline, and I was able to go on Friday because I was volunteering, but I had my own show on Friday where I do a comedy show. I do 2 comedy shows. Each are like monthly shows. One of them's always on the first Friday, or almost always on the first Friday.
Yeah.
And that is a character I do that is like an Edward Scissorhands character, but he has microphones for hands.
That's
so
sick.
I have full like white pancake makeup. And so I just rolled in to see a cot growing, and then people were like, what's up with why do you have the stuff on your face? I'm like, I couldn't get it all off. It's just straight from wiping a complete like Edward Scissorhands thing off of my face. So yeah.
That's
just
funny, dude.
About that character, because it also sounds like it's like you're like a contact mic hands. Is there like a noise show component to that you try to bring in?
So this is what I've told people. Like, I'm like, this is kind of like the most personal thing I do in comedy in a way. It is like very much based on being in the noise scene. And I would specifically name drop like who I was thinking of when I just was like came up with this idea, which Prurient.
Oh, print. I saw that it come up in some of your interviews.
Yeah.
I recall.
Did I mention Prurient? Yeah, I have mentioned Prurient. Because I knew him a little bit and we had gone on this tour together where like I just remember watching him like just he's sort of like shirtless, like kind of like a Henry Rollins, kind of like just stature, and then he's just has two microphones and a wall of amps, and he's just going the whole time. And I just was like sort of like thinking about how like I'm like, what if he was sad instead of angry? You know? And then I just came up with the name Mike Hands. I'm like, that's so much better. That's just, I have to just do it because of the name. A lot of things I do is just because of the dumb name. But yeah, so I came to Open Melody, I guess was my point, after doing a show. So I only caught Growing and RP Boo. And Growing I've worked with on things like throughout the years. So yeah, they're old homies.
Yeah, that's sick. It's crazy. You've been like Growing. I guess you've like worked with so long ago. That guy's been doing stuff for like ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was crazy to see that because I'm a big fan of the Cranky label. So years ago, that's probably like 2019, 2020, I had bought the first album that they did for Cranky. And I know right around 2020 when they reemerged, they did a tape of that second album. So I've got that like right below my bed right now.
Nice.
And it just, I was looking again. I'm like, oh, that's right. They did a release with Mary Latmore. It was just down to class. And again, like what's your relationship with them going back all those years, I guess?
Yeah. So I had met Joe in Olympia. I was kind of in a band that was like a cover band, but then my first like real band, I like to say, is this band called Boxleitner. That was like me and Gabe Mindell from Yellow Swans, my friend Cece Moss, who has played in a bunch of bands, but she's more like an academic now, art historian.
Yeah.
But she also played in a really great band called Cellular Chaos. It's like a Weasel Walter band from the mid-aughts.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, so she was in that for a while. And then, a lot of people in and out. Our other fourth main person was Ian Connolly, who was also in a band called Jim Yoshi Pileup that I feel like you guys would know about.
Oh, yeah. Jim Yoshi Pileup's sick.
This is the funniest. The first tour this band ever did, I think there's three bands. None of us had ever toured before. We just decided we were going to tour together. And it was Jimmy Yoshi Pileup, Boxleitner, and Casio Tone for the Painfully Alone. And like we just like piled into two vans and just like rolled up in the middle of like the winter up to Portland. And we're like driving through this blizzard. I mean, like we could die and we don't even know why we're doing this. God, I don't know when you guys were born, but it was like, basically the January 2000 is when this happened. So
that's
quite
crazy.
A while ago.
Like an entire lifetime. And I guess I'll kind of do a weird grandstanding or a little keynote here, if I may.
Sure.
Going through, skimming through some of the discogs, skimming through some of the interviews. What fascinates Thomas and I think both with your repertoire, George, is it's really interesting to see you go from one era of indie to continually shifting through and ending at a different story of indie that also we happen to have interacted with or know something about. Like again, with a band like P, which comes out of this one era of indie for you that like I think they're on the first comp Zoom number
second
number 2 comp. Yeah, they're on their number 2 comp. But like one of my favorite bands when I was coming up in the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the most recent one, if I recall, you have My Heart is an Inverted Flame.
Yeah, which is Andy also.
Yep. And so you had mentioned that coming full circle. And even before I knew about P, I had been sent by Tabs Out through Death Bomb Arc that My Heart is an Inverted Flame tape, or like
nice.
I had been given Arc Mountain as well. So I was familiar then with your name.
You write for Tabs Out?
That back in the day. I wouldn't say as much anymore, but it is still an active podcast, and I was doing the coverage for them.
Oh yeah, no, that was a great resource for all us tape people. I remember, and you guys would do kind of funny things. They were it was like a kind of sarcastic edge to everything on Tabs Out, as I recall.
There was a real sincerity because also Mike, it was really funny. Mike's realtor, the guy who sold him his house, ran Jade Tree Records. So
Wow.
he also, I remember talking to him, I'm like, wait, so you had heard like American Football in 1999? Like you knew about this album that like people are still talking about today and is really important for like Thomas or I's generation. He's like, yeah. And he had just moved way the fuck on from that and he really cared about just doing the Delaware noise stuff and the few little things he had collected and loved over the years of artists that he loved. So the strategic tape reserve stuff, supporting like personal archives, Death Bomb Arc, the Hostel Orange Milk. And I thought that was interesting because it can be, I can almost feel like if you're trying to tell the story of indie, which is stupid, bad idea, you can get really lost about 2000 to 2001. And it's like, I'm interested as well because looking through some of the old stuff you had with like the emo interviews or the zines that cover that, or I guess just to ask like about one release, the Out HUD and Chick split.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Out HUD's like one of my favorite Cranky acts. So what was it? And we've talked with Dental years ago, and he mentioned this was like the hottest thing in 2000, 2001. You
Dental?
never thought, yeah.
Jimmy Tamborello.
Oh, Jimmy Tamborello.
Yeah.
Oh, thought you said like a dentist. Yeah, I know Jimmy. So the connection we had to Out HUD was actually very weirdly when I was first in Berkeley. Two of them were in this band called the Tourette's, which was like, and they think both Molly and Phyllis had been in Raoul. And the story with Raoul was they were like these Berkeley, I don't know if they were high schoolers. They might have been like junior high Berkeley kids, all female punk band that opened for Fugazi.
Yeah.
And that was like the beginning of like that weird train of like the music that those kids made from being like, you know, just basically a Gilman Street, like, you know, child band to then being in this crazy dub band with like cello, which is Out HUD. It's like, that's a crazy trajectory. And I feel like it'd be really interesting to talk to them. Now, Molly, I occasionally see her posts on Instagram. We're not like super in touch, but she has a kid and her husband is in Chick now.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, it's such a loop of people. So I kind of knew Molly and Phyllis from the Tourette's. And then I just remember when Out HUD started playing, because they were in Sacramento and I was in Berkeley. And we just kind of like hear about what was happening in Sacramento. Like there was a little bit of overlap between Sacramento and Oakland. And at some point I just saw them play at this warehouse show in Oakland. And I was like, oh yeah, I know those guys. And then Tyler Pope and Nick, who ended up being Chick, and also Tyler went on to be in LCD Sound System. And actually, I just reconnected with him last year at like an Unwound show. Like I hadn't seen him in like
crazy
15, 20 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were a band that was an amazing live band that also didn't really fit into anything that was happening at the time. They were not on Cranky in the beginning. They just had a bunch of 7-inches out. There's also the era where you could just be like, you put out 5 7-inches instead of an album.
Yeah.
And then people just knew that. Yeah. So when we approached them about doing a record, I had only really started doing records like in earnest, like maybe that year. And I'm just like, it seems like this is a band that we should do something with. And so I actually had seen them before. I think I'd seen that Chick. But then there was like this overlap, like, 3 of the same people were in both bands. And then, so I was like, yeah, you want to do something? And then Sonny at GSL was also talking to them. And then we'd both kind of been like, you want to do something? And I was already working with Sonny, like he was distributing everything we were doing with Zum, like as a magazine, he was doing the distribution. And then we started doing the compilations. And then, so we just kind of like learned how it worked from like being around that world a little bit. So we were just like went in halves on doing that split, that had Chick split, which was like, it was kind of a big deal when it happened. I mean, I remember like, people that didn't know me at all knew what that record was.
That's crazy.
Yeah, my friend Pete said this is almost like Blue Monday by New Order dropping or something. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know if it had that impact, but like in a pocket of the underground, it might be comparable. And I remember being like, I don't know if I like the color scheme of this record. It's like this very gross purple and yellow.
Yeah.
And also like we ended up being on our logos on the Chick 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 side, not the Outhead side. But yeah, no, they were just such a good, weird live band. And then Chick 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 I became better friends with. And like we had talked to them about doing their first album. And then it was just seems like so expensive at the time to do it. And we were just like, I don't think we can do this. And then JSL did the first album. So maybe it worked out in the end because a lot of bands I would work with, they do their first album and then they break up. So it might have been that case if it had been that. But yeah, so my connections with those guys were like being around kind of the Berkeley, Gilman scene and then kind of weirder Oakland warehouse shows, noise shows like 40th Street Warehouse, Punks with Presses Warehouse. Just kind of having, my taste went from very much like the first comp we do, like maybe a quarter of the bands are like indie pop, like like Tully Craft
and like Boy Racer and stuff. So
yeah, we were friends with like Tully Craft and would put on shows for them. And so I met a ton of people putting on shows. So when I was in college, I put on shows.
Nice.
And then I did this thing where like, I read about people in other towns being like, oh, they just rent out a Vets Hall or a YWCA. I'm like, we have a YWCA down the street. Maybe I should start putting on shows there. So did that for a while without ever owning a PA.
Yeah.
Just be like the day of the show, hey, do you have an extra guitar amp that we can plug some microphones into? And they're like, what? what is this? What did I agree to? I mean, I think I did have a good like big Sun cabinet, and I think we just like started using it as a PA. That was like a mono PA, just like wherever this is in the room, you're gonna get vocals out of it. And that's like I didn't know what anything was. I mean, like I worked on a campus thing that put on concerts, but I never really figured out how sound was supposed to work.
That's so funny.
I was like, we were just doing like, I would pay to rent out the hall. I would make flyers. We'd work the door, and then like the cut wasn't great because of how much the rent of the space was, but it was a very beautiful like YWCA right by the Berkeley campus. So we had a lot of the first Eilerset show was there actually. That was a very
that's show. Crazy.
Yeah, we were like how do you spell this name? Is there an apostrophe in it? I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, those are the guys we would hang out with all the time, like Trackstar, Henry's Dress. There was a band from like Santa Rosa called Kid Dynamo we'd hang out with. Cars Get Crushed. Those were all people that like, I were a little older than me and I looked up to because I hadn't started a band at that point.
Yeah.
I kind of like was like, one day I'll start a band, but I just didn't really do it for a long time. I did like a little band in college with a friend, but we never practiced.
Yeah.
It's like we were in dorms. Like, how do we practice in a dorm? I was like, I hit a pillow with sticks. So this is all obviously like sort of early internet, pre-internet, pre Hotmail, if that, that gives you some context.
That's crazy.
Before that even existed. I remember getting a Hotmail account being like, what is this thing?
So when you were like booking shows and stuff, you were mentioning like having to put like your phone number and anything. Is that, I don't know. Did you have a phone book? Is that how you just like kept in touch with everybody? Like,
I mean, yes, this is a very basic, like a little like bunch of 3x5 cards or like a phone or like a planner, something like that between those two things. And then I lived in a house with like 6 people and we were all sharing like the landline. So it was like a voice, missing a voicemail, like I'm trying to make a plan with someone to meet up with them. And then if I don't hear from them, it's not happening. That's happened several times.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Nope. Yeah, you just have to actually plan. You'd have to be like, hey, I'll meet you at this thing at this time. And then I'm always 15 minutes late to everything. So sure, like people were just mad at 15 minutes for me.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Were your shows like popping off back then?
A couple of those did pretty well.
Yeah.
Like like, just it was not Gilman, I think was part of it. It was like definitely more indie rock, and like Gilman would still mostly be like hardcore and punk, but like occasionally like something would kind of cross over. So we were kind of just dealing with like, actually the first show I put on there, one of the members of the band Delta 72 just passed away, Greg Foreman, but that was like the first show I put on.
Oh yeah.
Was Delta 70. The first show I put on at the Y. I had put on shows on campus before that, and that was like, I just basically like, hey, I just asked bands if they want to play the Berkeley campus for free.
Yeah,
and they were like, yeah, sure. And I think there was other people had done that job, would be getting sponsors or something, be like, let's promote an iced tea or whatever, like, a bank or something. I'm just like, nah, man, like we have a budget, like they'll play for free, and that's good exposure for them. And we'd get bands that were on tour. I mean, ideally, now thinking about it, if I was a band and I was playing campus, I'd be like, where's the money? Like,
100%.
This is campus. And I met someone that was doing that job at UCLA also around the same time. And he was kind of crazy bands. So it was like, through the UC system, most of these UCs had some kind of like student body organization that would put on shows. And like the place that I worked at, they even did like big shows. Like they would do like Penn and Teller and stuff.
Like wild.
Yeah, they would do these massive shows. So my thing was like, no one cared about it. It had a lot of visibility because it was like a free show. And also, again, a few years before that, Fugazi had played. And that was like the biggest show that they'd ever had. Like just people on every surface of that plaza were just hanging, watching Fugazi play. I wasn't there for that, but it was kind of gave that series a bit of notoriety.
I remember seeing a flyer at UCSB somewhere where like Fugazi and Be Happening played there or something on tour.
Yeah, they would tour together back then. Yeah,
which is crazy.
I found in like an old. There was a alt weekly called the East Bay Express, and I don't remember when I found this, but I found like some review of that tour. Like, it was like Fugazi. I don't have it anymore, but I remember it was like probably was like Gina Arnold, who was like a music writer at the time. I think it was like just reviewing like Calvin Johnson dancing in this libidinous way at the Scottish Rites Temple, like opening for Fugazi. So yeah, just this is sort of like the era where all that was like kind of, you could call it gatekeeping, but it was actually like pretty important. Like the press was pretty important.
Yeah.
Because you needed to have things described to you. Right.
Yeah,
like you couldn't instantly click on something. So it's like, oh, if you're good at describing music, that's actually a job.
Mm-hmm. No, and I mean, you're talking earlier about with OutHUD that need also to figure out is like what's going on, like just I forget how far Sacramento is from Oakland, but just that far,
like an hour and a half, maybe. Yeah.
Just what's going on, an hour and a half away. You're going to need somebody that can describe those scenes. You're going to need labels built up.
I do think like there was sort of like, I do think about this now. Like, I do think regional scenes still very much matter in punk. And weirdly, I feel like regional scenes really matter in comedy as well. Like there is like sort of, there's a weird parallel of these things. But at the same time, then it's like, you could just be like, oh, I live in the woods in Canada. I just dropped this record on Bandcamp, and then that could blow up. So it's like this weird mix of things where without a community, you're missing a huge chunk of things, but then you don't, you can develop this other way as well. So
like something I kind of think about or compare with that. It's like with craft beer. But the thing about craft beer is that you cannot stream a craft beer. You can't do that. But, a great scene can come out of, a lot of different brewers sharing stuff, going to the same homebrew spot. Really great, tasting rooms and places for people to hang out and just interact.
Yeah.
And once I made that connection mentally between like that and do-it-yourself music, I thought like, okay, this is pretty neat, despite this clear, obvious barrier. But yeah.
I mean, that's a good analogy because I have always sort of been, because I do basically have this as kind of a hobby label. I'm just like, well, that's like Hank in Breaking Bad. His hobby is he brews beer, right? Like this probably costs less for me to do this than to do that as a hobby.
Yeah. Right.
Maybe it's less rewarding to some people, but I like that records last. It's good and bad that records last so long because I'm warehousing a lot of old records. But yeah, I remember really being conscious at a certain point. Where my sister is very environmentally conscious, and like she was doing this label with me for a long time.
Mhm.
And at a certain point, she was just like, "I don't want to have this much, be responsible for putting out this much plastic in the world." I'm like,
That is kind of an
I don't have
interesting
a problem
thing, yeah.
with it. Huh?
It is an interesting thing to bring up. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. And I just was like, I'm like, yeah, like she's like, these are fossil fuels. I'm like, I know, but it is also like, it is becoming, now that so much vinyl is back, like, yeah, and also the prices have gone up for all the vinyl. It is a consideration, but like I remember thinking about like, at the time, my friends of mine were getting really into food, and I was like really into records. And I was just like, I think I'd rather be into records because a record I have from 25, 30 years ago, I'll still have. I don't have anything from that meal.
Yeah.
You know, other than a photo or like a memory or description of it. So, and maybe I was wrong because it's sort of like, I think it's about the experience, really, right? Like, so like the records at this stage in the game, you don't need them. They are the souvenirs of the experience.
Yeah.
Like if it's bands that play live. I mean, there's also tons of weird, electroacoustic art music where it's like it doesn't really count on being live. But for the stuff we're dealing with, like bands and like memorabilia for bands, essentially. I mean, I think that is what the records have sort of become.
Yeah, for sure.
There's because you were bringing up, a band could be known for 7 inches, like 30 years ago. And I remember seeing on Twitter, I think it was the critic Mark Richardson had brought up this point of like, you could just tour off of your 7-inch. Like I'm thinking again about like the Berkeley stuff. It's like you're having a band come in for free. Well, if they've got the 7 inches, at least they can sell those and you have something.
Yeah.
I don't see artists that are doing 7 inches or 10 inches. That's not a viable thing to sell. But as a souvenir, that LP, I hear you on that. That's really it at this point. It's completely changed that view.
I am doing a 10-inch, and I can tell you a little bit about it because
excellent.
It basically costs the same amount of money to make as a 12-inch.
Really?
Like, they just I believe, and someone could correct me on this, I believe they even have to press the whole thing on a 12-inch press, and they just trim the extra inch off.
Really? That's crazy.
Yeah. Wow. I want to say that's true. And then it's funny. I was like dealing with this plant and like, is there any price difference? They're like, well, there's slightly less to ship. I'm like this amount of plastic is like, there's like this much less plastic on a 10-inch. But I still like, I have so many 10 inches that I think are great in my collection. And like, it's just, I love the format of a 10-inch. And it's kind of been in the back of my head forever being like, I would love to do one of these things that are totally decadent and don't make a lot of sense.
I think
10 inches are so sick though.
They're all right. Like there's just sort of like, when I think of like certain 10 inches I have in my collection, I'm like, that's the perfect format for what that thing is.
I just found a cool random, Slumberland 10-inch of this band Liechtenstein from like the 2000s or something.
I remember Liechtenstein actually. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
What were you saying, Maddie?
No, it's like I'm thinking because I was at Folk Arts Rare Records.
In San Diego.
Yeah. And they were not doing Record Store Day really, but one thing they had gotten copies of and had on the table was Pavement's Perfect Sound Forever, which I'm pretty sure, that's a heavy 10-inch.
Yeah. Well, I know there's another. Yeah, there's Westing and Musket or something.
Westing's the compilation that has that. And
is that a 10-inch?
That's not a 10-inch. That should be a vinyl and a cassette. I have that on cassette, but that has the 10-inch. And
it has a 10-inch on it. Yeah.
But Perfect Sound Forever was the 10-inch of that. There might have been another one they had on 10.
Because also you could do a 10-inch at 33 or 45 if you're really the same way you can do a 7-inch at 33 or 45.
Yeah, that's true.
Depends what you want to do. I love that is there this weird in between format. And then punk would get down to, you get to these 5-inch records.
Really?
Sometimes.
There was 5 inches?
Oh yeah, I think there's probably some places that'll still make them, but like I think I have like a 5-inch picture disc or something.
Whoa, that's
I
crazy.
think Jenny Piccolo did one or something. Yeah, you can get. It's just like you have to have a player that doesn't automatically like click back after it gets down to the middle. You know,
Yeah,
it
for
just
sure.
has. It can be one of those players that just like, oh, there shouldn't be anything here. We'll go back.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many weird things going on with records. When I first got into records, like there'd be like something like the 500 lock groove record. Like
Yeah.
RRR did that 500 lock groove record. Someone did a record where there's multiple holes in the middle.
Oh,
So you'll get like it depending on which hole you play it on, you get like this warbly sound.
that's kind of sick.
I cannot remember who did that, but I remember hearing about like I mean, this is like when you just hear about records and it was just like folklore. It was like an urban legend because they didn't, before Discogs or something.
Yeah, for sure.
You know about the Mersbo car?
No.
Oh yeah, there was like a car that just had a Mersbo CD that was stuck in it that you couldn't take out, and you had to buy the car to get to the record.
That's honestly really sick.
That makes sense.
Pretty smart, but also insane stuff.
Yeah, for sure. My friend is on this comp, and I guess the comp, like, you can't choose a song. It's just like when you start the record, it'll just choose a groove and then just start playing a random set of songs or whatever it goes into. Like, you can't choose a song. You don't know which songs are going to play. It's kind of sick.
What's this record?
I forget the name of the label.
Okay.
I'll send it to you. I'll ask my friend.
Yeah. I have a friend who's done something like that, but it's like, also, I think it's just like short. It might be like locked grooves. It's just like, you can't tell what you're going to get at any given time. It's like a roulette thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
maybe that's what it is.
That's Nathan from Tusco. He's done like maybe 4 or 5 of these records that are that format.
Oh, wait, what's the label called?
Tusco Embassy. If it's that record, it could be that. I just saw him like literally before he came over here.
Oh, maybe that is
just walking his dog. That could have been that record. Yeah, because I think it's like randomized lock grooves. Also, my friends Total Shutdown, who recently started playing shows again. They're kind of infamous one record they did where it's 2 parallel grooves. So there's really 2 things that could happen depending where you put the needle down.
Yeah.
One track you would get the Total Shutdown album. The other track you would get the Beatles. And
that's so
I don't
funny.
know. They somehow got the guy to do this, like complete copyright violation.
Yeah,
like complete,
for sure.
Just in like somehow they were able to do. And it's such a funny idea. But also, like, it's very annoying to try to listen to that record.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but that's also hilarious.
It's very much them. It's very the most like prankish, and like Total Shutdown and Boxleitner were like bands that would like we kind of discovered each other and like would play together all the time, and like that was kind of like the beginning of a little scene that we were part of.
Yeah, that's sick.
Yeah, which is like early aughts. Yeah.
I wanted to ask too a little bit. You still book shows, right? Like you mentioned a little bit that you booked like the P show at Zebulon.
Yeah, so it started happening. I would say it didn't happen for a long. Like I say, it's a little bit like it's just something I can do that I don't often want to do. But once I do one thing, then people are like, "Yo, I'm coming to town. Can you help me with a thing?" I'm like, "This is how it all started."
Yeah,
That's literally how this all started for me. It's just someone's like, "Hey, someone's coming from Germany. Can you help them?" I'm like, "I guess. I don't know. I don't know this band. Why am I helping this band from Germany?" But then I'd be like, "Oh, that's cool. It's a good way to meet people from all over the place." Yeah. So I didn't do it for years because at one point, I was doing like everything I was doing was music related. It was like my day job was I worked at a record label. I was putting on shows. I was playing in bands. I was doing my own label.
Yeah.
And God, I was also doing like music journalism. So there's this one thing where I'm like, I was like the whole Buffalo, but then I'm like, I don't have a life really outside of this shit.
Yeah.
It's kind of insane. And like would go out like 5 nights a week. And I also do not drink. So it was like this thing where like I had a lot of energy. And I was like, this is my social world.
Yeah.
My entire social world is like this scene.
Yeah.
And that scene was like felt like a national, international scene at different points. But then I'm like, I'm becoming like the oldest guy in my scene all the time, you know, because everyone else is just kind of like moving on and doing other things. And then at one point, my other thing that I wanted to do for a long time was stand up. So I got into stand up, and there was maybe 2 years where I was trying to be in bands and do stand up at the same time.
That's wild.
And that kind of ended it kind of ended, just kind of petered out. And once it's like one of my main band I was in broke up. And then
which band was that?
KIT, Kicks, which is the brothers from XBXRX and Christy Geschwantner, who also did music as a Little Pocket Knife, and DJ Shitbird and Ultimate Party Machine.
That's sick.
And I saw her recently, and she's like, I'm thinking about doing a band again. I'm like, you know, it could be the time to bring that back. She's got like a lot of stuff to yell about, you know, we all do. So, you know, I don't know if we would do it together or anything. Just she mentioned it as something. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
That'd be cool.
And I kind of brought my old band Boxleitner back together, which ended up just being me doing it solo, because it was like literally a text thread I had with CC and Gabe, where we're just throwing out, I'm like, hey, David Horvitz wants us to play this show. And like, I know you don't live, like CC was in LA at the time. Gabe was like in Minneapolis. I'm like, we could do something weird. Like we're playing online chess with you. And that's the show. That's what it was, such like a Dadaist, you know, kind of noise band.
Yeah.
It could be kind of anything. So we're just coming up with dumb ideas like, oh, how about you read out this entire text thread? And that's the performance. And then I just kind of came back to this thing of that we had done a million years ago of like putting our clothes on backwards and playing backwards. So at the time, it was like I tried to play drums with all my clothes on backwards, where I'm like trying to hit the drums like this. And I had this weird mask on the back of my head. And Gabe would play guitar the same way. So I just was like, I'll just do this, because literally the week it happened, and I was like talking to CC and being like, so if we do this, and she's like, oh, I thought you were kidding. I didn't think this was actually a thing that was going to be happening. I'm like, well, it's on the flyer. I got to do something. And so, yeah, I just came up with something.
Wait, when did this happen?
Last year, like, I don't know, March, maybe. And then since then, I've done it maybe like 5 or 6 times. And like, I did it at the comedy festival, SF Sketchfest, as part of my show that I do, Talkies. And it's like this thing where, like, I don't know, it's the thing that I do that people like the most out of anything I do at this point. Like, they like it more than me doing stand up. It's just like, okay, I'll keep doing it. That's the thing. I'm like, I've learned to be like, just listen to the audience, like just pander, you know, just do whatever they want.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's a thing that I might bring to San Diego.
That's sick.
I'd be there for that.
Yeah. I can plug that later. I'm still kind of like working out the kinks on that, but I can plug it at the end if you want.
Yeah.
Sick.
Was there a question that I answered? What was it something about?
Oh, just asking about
doing
like,
shows.
Yeah.
Why am I doing shows, or how am I doing shows again?
Yeah. Like, how'd you get into it again? I noticed also that you booked like our friend Irene Moon, who has had a show at KCSB for like ever.
Right. So I've never met her. I have a record of hers. It's a 10-inch. I have a 10-inch of hers.
Yo, okay.
That's great.
Wait, when did you do that?
I didn't put it out. I just have a copy.
Oh, you just have it. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I have a copy of it.
Sick.
But she is friends with Levin Blechtum, who I know from the Bay Area. And like when I was doing music journalism, and I did like this cable access show where like I was a big fan of Blechtum from Blechtum, which was, if you've listened to that or heard of Blechtum from Blechtum.
I feel like I've seen it on like Tiger Beat 6 before.
Yes, that would be one of the main labels that did Blechtum from Blechtum stuff back then.
Okay.
And they kind of did, I think, 2 new records in the last like 3 years or something like that.
That's crazy. I need to look into that.
It was like this kind of, when I think of this early aughts period when like Outhud was around, or things that were like kind of genre, like just if you had friends that were into like art shit or whatever, then you just end up at this show and be like, oh, there's a rapper, there's like these 2 people playing laptops, but they had like a suit, like a kind of Teletubbies kind of suit.
Yeah,
like the suit was connected between the 2 of them. And that was my introduction to Blechtum from Blechtum. Like, what is this?
Great
This
way
is
to
sick. And like, yeah, I think it was a show that Miguel Kid 606 had put on with a bunch of other friends and people I still kind of am in touch with now.
Yeah, that's sick.
From the show. And yeah, that was probably 99 or 2000 or something.
Wait, so you had them on your cable access show, you said?
Yeah, I did the show with this guy, Virgil Porter. It was his idea. He's just like, I want to do kind of like the Target Video things, but for like whatever's happening now. And now was like 2002.
Yeah.
So we're just like, okay. He's like, I think you should be part of this. I'm like, okay, we'll just talk to bands and film them. And then like, so it'd be like a live segment and then like an interview segment and back and forth. And I mean, he's like, I'll edit it. I'm like, great, because I'm not going to edit this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did that for maybe a year and a half.
That's so sick.
Yeah, like that's kind of the main documentation of this weird period of the Bay Area on video.
Can you still find those anywhere?
Yeah, they're on Vimeo. I'll send you the link.
Dude, that'd be sick. Hell yeah.
Yeah, and like John Dwyer's like early band, like Pink and Brown was on there, and
Really?
Coach Whoops was on there.
Wow.
Yeah, Deerhoof did one, and they just shot it themselves. They didn't like. I think I filmed a bunch of their stuff, and we had someone try to cut it together, and they were just like, we're just gonna do it ourselves, and they made it super weird, of course.
That's sick.
So yeah, a couple other bands that you probably don't know from that world, but you know, it was actually there was a San Diego band that, and we ended up doing. I think we did the plot to blow up the Eiffel Tower, maybe. Just like Virgil had lived in San Diego, so
yeah,
we had connects, and the Locust did one.
Oh, crazy!
That's actually like the kind of wild one. We had this guy called Extreme Elvis who we had him interview the Locust, and he goes in character as like a kind of a Gigi Allen Elvis impersonator. That's like he would wild, get naked, he would put stuff in his butt, he would just he had the sideburns and the hair and just kind of a chubby dude. It was like I actually still had a VHS of that lying around, and I think I sold it finally, but
that's crazy.
That was called Burn My Eye. So that if you Google Burn My Eye or look on Vimeo and Burn My Eye, you'll probably find a bunch of those.
That's really sick. That guy, what's his name? Something Elvis?
Extreme Elvis, yeah.
Extreme Elvis kind of reminds me of, do you know who breakdancing Ronald Reagan is?
I do. I'm familiar. I don't know him as a person, really. Hollywood Johnny? Is that?
Yeah. He kind of scares me. I've never seen him play live.
I've seen him.
Yeah. I've never seen him play live. His shows seem like they would scare me, but
it's a similar idea,
similar vibe,
in a way.
It seems like. Yeah,
it's a similar idea in a weird way. Like, do you guys know Jimmy Brown?
No,
you probably do if I showed you Jimmy Brown. Jimmy Brown is also like a little bit like, I mean, he's not going to get naked.
Yeah,
I don't think, but he's just like a character kind of thing, you know. It's just like this weird music character guy.
That's sick.
Yeah, you'll when we take our next break, I will send it to you, and you can you'll see what I'm talking about.
Hell yeah. I also wanted to ask, are you still making music now?
Well, kind of that thing I do as box liner is not real. Like, I have a backing track for when I do it, which is from the old music that we had done. And then I made a whole new other thing somewhat recently that I've also used as a backing track for the backwards guitar thing. And that is such the dumbest thing. It is a sample of Tears for Fears and Jason Molina, like just like looped back to back.
Yeah.
And then I just got this dumb app on my phone. I could like modify it live. So just like make it into this weird like looping thing. And then I played that, and that's like a 10-minute loop. So I'll play over that. And it feels like cheating in a way because I'm just, you know, but it is like just from a sample or a sampler idea, you know, just weird samples put together, which is like, you know, go back to like Negative Land or something.
At least kind of playing off of putting stuff together here. Because you do at least have the tape on Death Bomb Arc.
Right. Yeah.
You did. And in lieu of like, because it was a deluxe edition, you're like, hey guys, I want to get out all of my pals here. And there's a lot of interesting names on there that you see on these more recent Zoom audio comps. So I'm curious about LA Noise.
Yeah.
Into some of those guys where that impetus to get those remixes. Cause maybe that's where I see you not making music, but still like, it's interesting operating that world.
Yeah, so the idea behind that was actually there was a ton of like comedy records that were coming out where there would just be a music track like tagged on at the end. And like actually specifically I'm thinking for some reason I had to know for my job I had to listen to a lot of comedy albums. There was a Jeff Foxworthy thing where it's just like little samples of Jeff Foxworthy jokes with like a beat going under it, but like a banjo or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I guess that's represents what he wants to represent about his world or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if I'm doing a comedy thing and I want to represent something from my world, it would be this other world that I've been part of. Right.
Oh.
And so people that I actually am friends with, like Zach Watkins, Steve Santamaria. I have to look this up right now just to remember who's on this thing. Greg Saunier and Headboggle and, Cooling Prongs. And some people I don't actually know very well at all. Like Conscious Summary, I don't really know him, but he's like the guy who's been like producing the Kate LeBon albums.
Oh.
Which is like you would not know.
Yeah.
A noise guy who runs this studio in LA has been producing Kate LeBon for the last 2-3 albums.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, Sammer is his name. And then like people like Jonathan Snipes, I've known since like Captain Ahab, way back in the day. Captain Ahab and Kit actually did a split record together.
Oh, sick.
It was kind of like Rose for Bodan and Captain Ahab collaboration split with Kit. And so, yeah, like Jonathan's someone I've known for a million years before Clipping came along. And then like Mux is people from House and Mountain, Goodwill Smith.
Yeah,
legend.
We talked with him ages ago.
Did you do an interview with him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was in Common Eider, King Eider, we played a couple shows with Goodwill Smith.
Oh, that makes sense.
Maybe just one show with Goodwill Smith, but it felt like we were like these bands don't go together, but I like, we all like, we're kind of fine, existing in the same kind of scene.
Yeah, that's sick.
And then Common Eider, yeah. So the last band I kind of like, the last band I was kind of in, and then I kind of like left at the end because I was like, I think I'd rather do stand up than do this.
Yeah, I'm curious about.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. I was just gonna say, I'm like curious about like how you like transitioned over to like comedy too.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would always talk on stage a lot, and also, I was trying to be funny in my writing. I was trying to be funny in like making little comics and stuff, and I just didn't really know how to crack whatever stand up was.
Yeah.
And then a friend of mine booked me to do this thing. She's like, you're going to do whatever stand up at this thing. And there's going to be people doing poetry and other stuff, but you're going to do, because she's like, knew that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
She kind of forced me to do it. And it wasn't good. And I remember talking about a movie for like 8 minutes or something. And then no one told me to stop. And then afterwards we were like, wow, you really did it. I'm like, yeah, I guess I did. I'm like, sure, it was not good, but it was also like, it got me to feel like I could do it. And then I also did a play. It was like a funny musical based on Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Where I was Jeff Goldblum. And I also would credit that with being like, I was not a theater kid. I just kind of like had a hammy energy, and like, oh, Jeff Goldblum is a perfect place to channel that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I did a storytelling. So probably 3 things happening around the same time, which is I also did a storytelling show that my friend Beth put on in San Francisco. So between all of those, I'm like, I think I have kind of an act. I did not actually have jokes.
Yeah.
I had I could talk and people would laugh, but there were no jokes. So it took me like another 2 years to really like figure out how to write a joke. Because I would just like write like a little essay and just try to read it out loud. Be like, I'm like Spalding Gray or something, like I'm like alternative. I'm like, something. But like, it was just like, this would not have worked when there was any other comics around. It was fine when there was only like poets and noise musicians doing stuff.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, he's kind of doing comedy. He's talking extemporaneously about something. But I had like God, I don't think I have recordings of any of these things really early on. They're pretty bad. There's some premises I do keep coming back to, but
wait, when was this when you started doing this?
The thing, like the play was in 2007, and then the storytelling show might have been like 2009 or something. And then so I really just put myself out there to like do these kind of storytelling show things. And then when I had a bunch of stuff happen, and I just decided I was going to really go into that. And then I took like an improv class, just really not the same thing at all. Improv is not the same thing as stand-up, but it was just like, hey, I'm investing in this idea that I could be funnier. And that's the part that I'm still in bands at this point, but I'm like, I need to, and the role models had existed. Like Fred Armisen had been in bands. Todd Barry was a drummer.
Yeah.
A bunch of people a lot of drummers end up, Bill Burr is a drummer. A lot of drummers end up being comics. You'd think it'd be lead singers, but
yeah, that's funny. That's interesting.
Yeah. So there was like sort of this idea that I should do something with my life that was not what I was doing. And I had kind of reboot my life a little bit.
Yeah.
And then so the comedy kind of seemed to fit into that. And I'm like, oh, I get all the attention. I'm not splitting up with 3 other people. So there was a little bit of that. And actually I was like, it just was such radically different feeling than being in a band or being a noise musician. It was just like a different relationship with the audience.
Yeah.
A different relationship with kind of like, it was like really like giving over a lot of things to the audience, which I would never have done when I was in bands. Like you want to feed off the energy of the audience, but I was never like going to like really like cater to an audience. And in fact, like often most of the things we were doing, when I say we, I guess maybe Boxleitner and maybe with like my other noise project, Chen Santa Maria, which was not that confrontational, but like some of the stuff I would do was just confrontational stuff. Like I was in a band called Walt Disney for like 2 or 3 shows.
Great names.
So
just
good.
like we're like, well, this band can never go anywhere because we're called Walt Disney.
Yeah, for sure.
There's no way it can ever. We can't put out a record. We can't do anything. We can only do these weird live shows. So I think like, my relationship to kind of like the audience was very different. It's all like, I have to trust their opinion over my opinion.
Yeah.
And that was like a hard thing to kind of like put together in my mind.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm curious also about just like some other, I don't know, do you feel like being in like DIY helped you go forward with like comedy and stuff like that too?
On the very basic levels of like, I knew how to put a show together, like all that stuff I was doing at the YWCA, where I'm like, oh, a guitar amp with a microphone in it, that's completely fine for certain kind of comedy shows, like a bar show. That's all you needed. If you owned an amp, you were ahead of most comics. I owned a microphone, I owned an amp.
Yeah.
And I knew people that had venues. And so it was just very easy for me to pop in and be like, I'm producing shows now. Like it was more like people were like, oh, finally you're going to do this. And like, you can actually like put a show together very easily and quickly.
Yeah.
You're not a good comic yet. You're not a good host yet, but you know venues, you know how to actually run a show. And like, that was valuable. And then I had to learn everything else. Of comedies. It's sort of like, I think when I started, people were like, oh, it's like you seem like comfortable on stage. I'm like, well, I should be at this point, but it's like transferring schools or something and being like, some of the credits transfer, some of them don't.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Maddie. What were you saying?
Oh no, I was just saying I like that analogy there.
So were you doing this in like Oakland or were you in LA at this point?
So I was in Oakland, but I had to come down to LA to take that Upright Citizens Brigade Improv 101 class.
Oh, sick.
And you could do an intensive class. So that was like 2 weeks long. And I think like at the end of it, Kit had some shows or something. So I was just like, I'm going to couch surf for 3 weeks
Yeah.
in LA. And I'd quit my job in the Bay Area. But I was also like, just like, if I got like a parking ticket, I'm like, oh no, this ruins this trip. Like one parking ticket might ruin this
Yeah,
trip.
for sure.
You know, so it was very hand to mouth scenario. Yeah. And that was at that point, I think I toured maybe 2 more times. I did Europe tours. And then that was kind of it. I don't think I did another West Coast tour in music after that. I did one because I already had all these tour contacts. So I did a comedy tour in 2013.
Oh, that's sick.
I probably shouldn't have. Well, I didn't have like a whole act or anything, but like I went with a friend and like we played Portland, Seattle, Olympia. I think on the way back down, did I hit anywhere else? I think Portland multiple times. One of the shows was like Johnny X and the Grodies birthday show.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah. So they would do that. And I'd played many Johnny X and the Grodies shows with Kit and just had been at several. And they're always on July 4th. And it was like, so it was just like, oh, I'm doing this now, but I'm doing comedy.
Yeah.
But also, oh, they do not like this. Some people do not like this. Yeah. So I ran a venue in San Francisco in a basement of a video store.
Oh, sick.
Yeah. And it was like a lot of music people were around that scene. Like the video store was owned by Adam from Jawbreaker.
Oh, crazy.
People worked there were musicians.
Yeah.
Anna Lou. You know, friends of mine had worked there over the years. And it was just like, obviously it was like not a great time for a video store. So we were kind of helping keep them afloat in a way by having these shows.
Yeah, for sure.
Like basically running a speakeasy in the basement of this video store.
Yeah.
But it became kind of a big thing and like
that's
really
wild.
quickly became a big thing. I mean, it's like
just with comedy or was there like gigs too? Or was it just like?
It was stand up, just, a bunch of stand ups, very low ceiling. At a certain point, we had pretty big people coming through there.
Wild.
Yeah. And it was in the Mission. It's like a place that actually had foot traffic.
Oh, okay.
So like, we would get walk-ins, you know, we'd always get walk-ins. And it's like, cause it's still like a very pedestrian city. And it's like, it was still a cool neighborhood. The Mission was a cool neighborhood. And also I think all the LA comics love coming up to the Bay because they could drink and not have to get in a car.
Yeah. That's sick.
I know someone who started comedy there because they had a DUI.
So like, how has like, I don't know, like the stand-up scene shifted to like today? I'm just like curious, like how it is now that you're still doing that sort of stuff.
It's kind of weird. I feel like I was very much still like invested in stand-up until COVID. And then there was that period of doing these really awful, like, I didn't mind the Zoom shows. It was like trying to do like Instagram live shows. That was just didn't make any sense because it was like, if you do a split screen on Instagram live. So it'd be like, I'm the host, but I'm not on camera. And then someone's just doing their act, sitting on their kitchen table to the camera. And like, am I supposed to laugh? Am I not supposed to laugh?
Yeah, that seems so awkward because I feel like
camera, like a talk show, interview show. Like what works here? And that wasn't the stuff that did well. The stuff that did well was 2 people are already famous just talking to each other on Instagram Live. Right. This is like 5 years ago. I mean, this is like feels like a million years ago to be talking about this. But it just really it was awkward. And it would be like someone really well known with a bunch of followers would join the Instagram live feed. And so there'd be a bunch of people watching and they just slowly drop off. And then the next person would come on. They have like very few followers. And they'd just be like, at one point, it'd just be me and them in the room. And they're telling me the joke, but I'm not on camera and I'm not laughing. So I'm just like, what?
That's so awkward. Yeah.
I mean, Zoom, there were some good Zoom shows. Like, and the show that I was doing, Talkies, that I helped start, that was like a PowerPoint show, kind of. Yeah. Characters and PowerPoints. That translated very well to Zoom.
Yeah, for sure.
And like, even if the laughs would come in a little bit staggered, we were doing like every 2 weeks for a while during COVID. And it was like becoming a thing where people were just kind of regularly coming and be like, it's Friday night or Thursday night or whatever, and people didn't have shit to do but watch Netflix or whatever. So we were a good break from that. And we would, just people would have their cameras on. We'd just start talking to people. There are, like some guy in like Arrowhead or something. And yeah, like people that did the show, I'll still see them occasionally. They'll be like, that was so great to have that during COVID. That was such a good Zoom show. It just worked as a Zoom show.
Yeah, that's sick.
And then so we kind of brought that back, and that's more character stuff or PowerPoint stuff, and very little stand up. So I kind of have done not a lot of stand up since COVID, honestly. And I kind of just did it recently at an all ages space that my friends were running, and they just like, do you want to do comedy here? I'm like, sure. And like, you want to host it? I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I have to host it. I have to actually write something. But luckily or unluckily, I have a lot to write about in my personal life right now. So I did have new material to try out. So I'm getting a little bit back into it. But like, honestly, like these last 2 weeks, between all those live shows, and then I worked at this record swap thing over the weekend and helped put on this other show. I'm just sort of like, the music stuff is kind of like, I find myself, if I'm just going to go out, I'm usually going to a music thing. I'm not usually going to a comedy thing.
Yeah.
And there's no shade to comics. It's just like a little bit like, well, like there's a band from Japan who's coming, and I'm in LA, and like, what am I going to do? Stay home? Like, I'm going to go check this out.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and I've been more involved in music stuff, and the label kind of kicked back in kind of in 2019, and then kind of really in 2020, it kicked back.
Yeah.
Because I took maybe like 5 years off from doing anything, 6 years from doing anything with the label, because it was just like, it felt like I didn't have a stable job, and it didn't feel like a financially responsible thing to do. And I would just keep like buying records and selling my Discogs sometimes. But like, the label felt like it was kind of like in stasis, and I was just like, I'll start it again if I get a new job or figure out like, how is this supposed to work? Because the way I was doing it for years just stopped working. It just really stopped working. I don't know. Like, I had a big cartel for a long time.
Yeah.
And then I remember just like in like 2011, just like all the sales dropped off. I'm like, did I get delisted from something?
Yeah.
What happened? Like, it just all dropped like in a year.
That's
and
so
I was
weird.
just like, this doesn't, and I was just trying different things. I'm just like, yeah, I don't know what I could do differently right now to make this work better.
Yeah.
Other than throw money at the problem. And I don't want to throw money at the problem, and I don't have money to throw at the problem.
So what did you do? You just took a break, or?
I took a break. Yeah. Like, I still had the website up, and I get maybe like, to a point where regularly I was getting like maybe $200 of orders a month. And then it went down to like nothing, and maybe like $200 in 6 months.
Yeah.
Something like that. It was just wild. And then Discogs would kind of go up and down like that too, but so it was just always like a little side thing. But I was like so dedicated to learning how to do stand up that I just spent all of the way I was about music. I just completely did that to the stand up. I'm like, like I was running a venue. I was doing stand up. I was hosting shows. I was like booking the entire venue. So it became like, that was my new thing that I got into. And I think you just kind of will burn out if you just are that way.
Doing one thing for ever.
Just monomaniacally. And like, and I would still go to see bands occasionally and stuff, but it was like, it's funny just being around people that also had no similar taste to me. Like, when I started hanging with comics, I'm like, I would mention a thing that I did, and like, none of you guys know what this is.
Yeah, 100%. They have no clue what DIY is.
Yeah, I mean, like, well, they like, so people knew who like John Dwyer was, or they knew certain labels, or they knew who Jawbreaker was. But like I'd be like, yeah, I did this tour with Shoo Shoo and Prurient. Like, never mind. I'm not even gonna bother trying to explain this to you, unless if your ears perk up. Great, I'll talk about it. If not, I'm like, you don't need to know. They're like, oh, do you ever think about murking your music into your comedy? I'm like, you don't know what kind of music I was doing. But now I kind of am.
Yeah,
is the thing. It took like 12 years or something to actually 13 years to put those things together. Put the chocolate and the peanut butter. I'm because like, it was like, I didn't want the chocolate and the peanut butter. I wanted just like, I like words and no gear.
Yeah.
And then now I'm like, oh, I brought back sound checks to my life. I'm doing sound checks all the time. Everything I do has a sound check now. I'm like, God damn it. I have props. I'm like become like one of these clown pilled people in LA, like just like some
Yeah.
clown stuff happening. So it's like I kind of accidentally ended up doing stuff where I don't talk. I'm like, I used to just talk and now they like it when I don't talk.
Yeah, right.
So I have to listen to that.
Oh man.
So I know you said you kind of picked up the label again, like 2019. I'm just like curious, like how that's been going. I know you sent me a few like new releases that you have recently. How's it been going, like getting back into the label scene?
It was a sporadic thing where like during COVID, well, so 2019, I've been talking to my friend Warren, who does a project called Somnambulous, and like we toured together and went to college together, and like he's sort of like an unheralded, like very specific type of like instrumental experimental guitar person who like fits into a world that makes sense to me, but like maybe is like hasn't like caught on. So I was like, hey, you've self-released everything. What if I put out a tape for you? It'd be at least a slightly different thing. And I think we got a Tabs Out review for that tape, for the Somnambulous tape. So it was like after, it was like, I'm like, this isn't vinyl. I'm making 100 of these. It's not going to be a huge problem to get rid of these or to sit on them if I don't get rid of them. It's not like I just spent like several paychecks to do this.
Yeah.
It was like, I think you do it. I think I could do it for like $400 or $500. And then so I got him to do a show, and then I tried to do a thing where like, what if you do a set, I do stand up, and then our friend Nate from Nuzzle does a set. And so that was like the tour. It was not a tour. It was just one show, one off we did in Oakland when I still lived in LA, and I just went back to Oakland to do this.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like the first thing I'd done in like 7 years, I think, for the label.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, that's not entirely true now I think about it. I did a digital only version of my comedy thing. I think that came out in 2018. Mm-hmm. But that was digital only, right? So there's no format then. It was just, so like there's maybe a 4 or 5 year period where nothing happened with the label other than old stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, the comedy thing was kind of just an idea because I've been around this comedy album world for a little while. Like, well, I could probably do this. I have like an EP's worth of stuff.
Yeah.
I'll try it and I'll run it myself, and I'll be the one that like there's no risk. Like literally the cost was like paying someone to make the artwork, paying someone to master it. Everything else was like gravy, basically. Yeah. I made my money back like immediately. And it was like something I could throw in Bandcamp, and I was like, oh, I'm one of like maybe 30 people that's doing comedy on Bandcamp. So that's also good to be like, oh, the odds are good. If you like comedy, you'll come across this. So that was like a whole other lateral thing of like, oh, this is me. It's my label. It's me doing a thing that I care about. It's an art form that I'm doing now, which is stand up, but it's not music. And then so like me doing the show with Warren and putting out Warren's tape is like, I'm like, how do I kind of make these things coexist? And then I kind of got to the point where I don't really know. And I thought about even like, should I put out someone else's comedy album?
Yeah.
Like, does that work? Do I know enough now to do a good job to do that for someone else?
Yeah.
And I never did again. And my friend Brandy has a comedy label. She seems to do very well with it. So, but at this point I would just tell anyone to go to her or go to Blonde Medicine or one of these other labels that actually puts out comedy and can get it charting like in the Apple, it's sales in Apple,
Yeah.
I did a Body Double record in 2020, and I remember
that one.
I met with them maybe in January, right before COVID.
Wow.
Like in LA, and just being like, well, you guys sound like what you're going to do is just do this yourself without having a lot of experience putting out your own records, or I could work with you. And because I had all this extra, in a sense, extra time, like time I wasn't working on any comedy stuff.
Yeah.
Because there was no shows to do or anything. I was like, I agreed to do that record. And then I also agreed to do the My Heart Inverted Flame record. And I'm like, well, this will be interesting. I'm going hard and doing 2 things on vinyl after not putting out vinyl for 8 years.
Yeah.
Because I was sitting on a lot of vinyl that did not move at all. It was some bands that never could play live. And I knew, at least with these bands, I'm like, I know these people, and I know like if they play live, they'll sell records. Like I knew Body Double was going to be a good live band, and I knew that anything Andy did would be good.
Yeah.
So I just like, okay, we'll do this. We'll do this. And then maybe by 2021, they'll start playing shows. And that kind of happened, you know? But it was like a big capital upfront kind of situation. Like, you know, I had to put a lot of money into manufacturing and a lot of money to promo.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a hard balance to figure out like how to do that and like not, you know, still make it break even. This is kind of a hard thing. And I still don't know exactly. And like, I'm mostly not using promo again since then, but I am for some of these records I'm doing now. I'm in a different distribution thing now.
What do you mean like promo, like radio promo?
Like PR and like radio promo and stuff that. Yeah. Because like, I don't think press matters in the way that it used to matter, right? Like, I think like there's this like person on Instagram who just like reviews records, and she's not even talking. She just is all text and she's just playing the music. And like, that's probably getting you more eyeballs.
I mean, there's a lot of like
review, but then like a blog, and then some random blog, maybe, you know?
Yeah.
No, yeah.
It's the hope of like a couple random blogs, a couple random DJs, just people find it, that they are aware of it. And that it just, because I mean, again, I'm going through my email, and even if I'm not writing, I'm still getting a lot of different stuff. And some of the names I know we've interviewed or talked with, and I'm like, okay, I can bookmark, or I've got something there. I trust this.
Yeah.
So it's that hope. It's that hope as that message in a bottle gets out, really.
Yeah. Like it's a label you trust, or it's actually a PR person you trust occasionally.
Yeah, exactly.
Or just like I will open a subject line. I'm like, what, this band? I kind of remember this band. Yeah. I'm like, you know, just this weird in between state we are in of like the thing that I talk to bands that are like in their like 20s and 30s or whatever, and like they don't know about how things used to work, or like what the infrastructure that used to exist was.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the thing. It's like, we are not replaced that infrastructure, really.
Yeah.
It's like we're trying to build pieces of it, but it's all scattered.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just such a hard thing. And what I've been hearing actually now, talking to someone else who runs a label, is he talks to a new band, and like any band now, if they work a regular job and they can put aside like $3,000, they can put out a vinyl, right? They can put out vinyl.
Yeah.
They don't know how to distribute it. They can sell it at shows. They can do it on Bandcamp. They can mail order it. They can't get it. They don't know how to get it in a store. Right.
Yeah.
That's like a whole mysterious thing. And then I think they care more now about like, can the label help us get a booking agent? Can the label help us get shows? Because everything's back to being like live matters the most.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like the live experience just matters the most.
And even like talking to a few other guys that I know that run small labels, biggest thing also that you're hoping with is like, can my music get a sync maybe?
Yes.
Even for like an ambient label. Yeah, that can just be a huge thing. Hey, that's some $100.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Sync is huge, and I've not had much luck with that at all. But it is a huge thing that you could do. Yeah. If you there's very few paydays, right? So you just have to play shows all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's back to like when the Minutemen would tour. It's like the record was the promo for the tour.
Yeah.
And it's kind of coming back around to that, I think.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
That's where I'm wondering. I mean, if you know, costs on 10 inches or 7 inches hit something, or people really go around that. I think also about like punks out that I know in Memphis with Goner Fest is such a big nebulous. Yeah. So it's like also they could pull acts from Australia or Canada or the UK, and it's like they're going to go run punk houses out in the Southeast now. That's next 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. And that would happen with South by Southwest too, right? Like everyone would just kind of like make a route. There either a bunch of people are coming through Arizona that week, or they're coming through on the other side. They're coming through Alabama or something, you know? Yeah. Like Goner is a good example of like, it's almost like the thing I see now of like, even like Weezer doing a cruise, right? Or like Modest Mouse doing like a cruise, where it's like the branding of the experience is like, oh, I know these are my people, and that's why I'm going.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't mind being on this cruise if it's my people, you know. I can't imagine any of these Screamo reunions doing a cruise or anything.
That'd be pretty funny.
Wow. Yeah, like the
vegan
tweet
cruise, the
Ebullition cruise,
unseen potential that would attract some of the gnarliest folks you've ever met.
Yeah,
that would be, you'd have underground pop, you'd have the 1991 Pop Underground convention attendees, you'd have a new generation of people that are just, you know, ready for this, coming from all over the world. Yeah.
The tweet cruise has to be called like Totally Craft or something. Like it has to be run by Totally Craft. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, actually, like an indie pop cruise could work.
That would be kind of sick. I would go for sure.
That would, yeah. Depending. Yeah. But yeah, like I think like but the point about like there being a fest or even just being at Open Melody the other day, I was like, you know, these are all a lot of people that I've known for a long time. Like I think on Sunday it was like Tussle, Deerhoof, Agriculture, Lightning Bolt.
Did you see Lightning Bolt?
Yeah. And like that's a band that like I had done a lot of stuff with over the years, and like, you know, it's not like we keep up, but like I would always see them when they come to San Francisco or whatever. And like, you know, I've been to Brian Gibson's house before, you know. So just randomly when I was in Providence.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, that kind of thing is like, it just was like the connections I have to people at this point from all these years ago. It's like, that was a nice thing about that festival. I'm like, oh, I feel very comfortable just doing that. And like, I ended up not even like watching anyone's entire set. Like I didn't see anyone's full set at all.
That was like, when you bring that up, because the week before was Big Ears, and I've done Big Ears now for 5 years in a row.
Wow.
It's interesting to watch the development of that, you know, kind of what's coming up, especially with the international anthem stuff. But I was bummed because I just knew I don't have the money and days off to go up and do the LA Fest, which had a lot of crossover, including like Tara Kirk and Trio played, and they
did.
Oh yeah.
Who had played, and so it's like, and I felt bad then missing Deerhoof at Big Ears. The one guy from the books, I didn't know that he was at the.
That's right. Yeah, he played.
That blew my mind that he was playing, because I still wonder what it's Zamudo. He's doing his own thing, and then Paul. I didn't know Paul.
Yeah, I'm blanking on the name too. Yeah, he played with a woman who played, I think, violin. Yeah. No, that's a good point. It was like, I think Big Ears got a lot of people into America. Mm-hmm. I think there was something happened with Lubomir Melnick where he dropped out of Big Ears. But that, by the way, that one of the best sets of, I don't know, the decade, possibly.
Wait,
Lubomir
which
Melnick.
one was it?
He's a Ukrainian piano player.
Oh, the piano guy. I saw that one. That was insane.
Just like,
that was the craziest thing ever. I was just like, wow.
It was, people were like, just like jaws on the floor for Lubomir Melnick. I've listened to his music for a long time. So it was just like, kind of, I'm like, I think I know what this is going to be like. And it just was like, for some reason, just a reset of the day in a way. Cause like you'd seen like Dummy or some other band, you know, rock bands. And then like just this reset of like, just this guy, like looks like a wizard just playing piano, like crazy fast piano.
I honestly had never heard that guy's music or anything. And it was just like, I saw the set and I was like, whoa, this is crazy.
Stuff, yeah.
Or no, I mean something that I guess I'm thinking, or another festival maybe we didn't talk about, Noise Pop 2022. You had a little label showcase or something.
Yes, I did, because at that point, people were playing shows again. Actually, that was the first show that My Heart and Inverted Flame ever played, I believe.
Oh, crazy!
That was their first show. Yeah, they had done some stuff like recorded in the studio, like during COVID, even put out like some videos and stuff, but they hadn't played out. And so that was like their first show. And then Body Double the record was very well received. The Milk Fed album was very well received. So I just kind of like was working with, I think, Tony Bedard, who's a booker in the Bay. And then we had just done this record with this band, the Acaris, who were an Oakland band. And I was like, hey, do you want to play the noise pop? I'm like, yeah, sure. And then in between the time they agreed to doing it, they moved to Detroit. And then I was like, so you guys are not local anymore? Like, no, we're flying out to do it. I'm like, all right. Because you're like the first band on a local show. So I guess it's you're local and you're not local.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was pretty good. I think we had a Tuesday. And I remember now the date was like 2/22/22. So yeah, it was
That's sick.
very memorable. And I have the poster somewhere here. I haven't put up all my posters yet, but I got a really good poster from that show. Yeah, and that was like kind of like I brought a bunch of merch up with me. Like I had still have a lot of friends in the Bay Area. It was like kind of like a weekend. Well, it wasn't a weekend because it was a Tuesday, but it was like a midweek kind of like
reunion,
reunion type of thing. And like people, yeah, it was. I remember it was also raining, so I think we that did affect our turnout a little bit. But it was just good to reconnect with people, and then also like people had no idea what the label was at all, and just be like, yeah,
cool.
this is like 3 bands on a label playing at Bottom of the Hill during a festival, so it's like a showcase.
Yeah,
and I like doing that kind of thing, and I could actually probably do it now. I could probably do like a whole day, I could do like a 7-band show now because some of the old bands are playing shows again, like Total Shutdown.
Yeah.
And then or even like Boxlightner, it would just be me playing. But then I'm working with currently 4 new bands.
Yeah. I'm curious about your new lineup of bands too.
Yeah. So,
can you mention any of them yet?
About these? Yeah, I can talk about it now. I don't have the release dates for all these, but the June 26th is a release date for CMOS and Miss Cummings. And actually the single for that is dropping this Wednesday. So awesome. I don't know when this is going to get put out, but it'll be out by the time this is out. And that'll be a collaborative song between CMOS, who are from Portland, and Miss Cummings, who are from Seattle. And CMOS I saw on tour with Spring Breeding last year. And I'm also doing the first thing that's on vinyl for Spring Breeding.
Oh, wow. Nice.
It's kind of nuts. Like they've been a band, I think, since like 2016 or something.
It's their first record. That's crazy.
They've been doing completely DIY, just burn their own CDRs, dub their own tapes this whole time, and just tour like crazy. And just like people's minds are just blown when they see this band.
Yeah.
It's just like people are so like there's nothing like this band exactly. So, but then CMOS is kind of in the same spirit in a way of this band, but just maybe like jammier. But they're great too. They're just great live band. Like it's sort of like the drummer is doing a lot, and then the singer is running a lot of like kind of synth things, and the drums are triggering things in the synths.
That's
and then
sick.
She's doing. Because I listened to the records, I didn't understand what's happening. She has like a little kind of contact mic, and she just puts on her throat, and that's how she sings.
That's sick.
And so it all sounds like it's like you're not getting like all of the syllables out of the mouth because it's just coming from here.
Yeah,
but it's running through all of her stuff, and it's just like it's wild. And like it's almost like it's not like the Grateful Dead, but I'm like I should sort of think that they have a weird following. It's almost like a Deadhead following or something, like Moss Heads or something.
Yeah.
And then so there's CMOS, Spring Breeding, Miss Cummings, who are from Seattle, who are like a guitar, bass, drums, singer band, but it is like reminds me of a lot of stuff I liked like 20 years ago also. But also they're like a modern band. So, kind of like punky, I don't know, maybe like a little like XPXRX, but like Downtown Boys or something like mixed in,
Yeah.
It's just like, and it's very like, it's nice to have like 2 bands from the Pacific Northwest where like I have a lot of connections up to Portland, and it's nice to work with a band from Portland. That's like, I think one of the best bands in Portland now. And then I'm working with a band here called Chorus Pedal, who are kind of Long Beach and have kind of changed their sound. Like every record completely changed their sound.
Yeah.
But this record, just kind of getting the finishing touches on this record. And I already approved the test pressings. All like the test pressings were approved.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, it's called Missed Opportunity for the World. And
Nice. Yeah. Chorus pedal
it's
sick.
yeah. So you already knew about them already, or you'd seen them, or like, yeah, when I sent you that, you knew who they were. Yeah.
Yeah. I was trying to get them to play on my radio show like a year or two back, but we like couldn't get the scheduling right. I needed, but like, need to hit them up again at some point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, where do you record bands? Would it be in the studio of the station at the school?
At KCSB. Yeah. At UCSB.
Okay, yeah. So probably have to just time out with if they're kind of coming through there for something else.
Yeah. And we could probably do like a gig or something along with it or something. You know what I mean? Something like that.
Yeah, it'd be great. Yeah. They're like, the record they're doing now is like so densely layered and like kind of really worked through like all these like little sound effects that are happening in there.
Yeah.
That is like, it's so maximalist, and like they are like, well, we can't really do this live unless we add like 2 people to the band. I'm like, yeah, maybe you could do that. I don't know. They're just kind of reconfiguring all the time, like what the band is. Like they'll write a whole new set for like one show. That's
wild.
It's wild, but really talented guys. Getting to know them pretty well. So yeah. Alan's also in Ologist, who are really sick, if you've heard them.
Oh, I don't know if I've heard them.
Just look it up on YouTube. There's some good footage of like they are kind of like math rocky, a little like kind of like a Skin Graft band. I told them like, you guys are like a Skin Graft Records band.
Yeah.
We don't know what that means. I'm like, it makes sense to me.
You just gotta tell them US Maple and they'll get it.
Right. Yeah. A little bit of that too. Yeah. So, So basically this little scene of people where like, I think all these bands would fit together, and if they don't actually know each other, would, probably get along as well.
Yeah.
And it just feels like after being involved in all these scenes, way back when, and then just continuing being scenes, but like, I'm not like in a band that's really playing with these bands. But I'm like, sort of like, I see the connections between these scenes, like whatever's happening with Spring Breeding and CMOS and Chorus Pedal and Body Double kind of all makes sense together. So that's the part of the curation, I think, of like the label that I want to that I like. Yeah. It's a little bit different than being a DJ in a sense. It's like, if I just wanted to be like a guy who makes playlists, I could do that. Mm-hmm. It's just sort of like being like the fantasy football person who's also like the fantasy football coach. Like I'm like, yeah, I'm like, I'm not just like on the sidelines. I'm like, I have skin in the game with it, but it's like, whatever experience I have accrued from learning about this stuff, or like wanting to promote an aesthetic that I like, that is the reason why I'm interested in doing it still.
Yeah.
Because it's not a self-serving, like, I'm like, check out my band. I'm like, you don't have to check out my band. Like I do fun stuff live, but it's like really not something you need to listen to. Maybe I'll get back into, I have been like thinking like, well, I have a practice space now. I'm like, maybe I could play with people. I don't know. It's just like, got to fit into other things in my life. And this is the thing where like, if I control like the scheduling of it, it fits into my life. And like, I'm going to these shows anyway. I'm like seeing bands. Like there's bands that I see now that I think are good, that like I just got to see how this goes and see if it makes sense to keep doing it like this. And then maybe I'd with other bands and do something next year. But like right now, 4 things in a year is plenty for me.
I feel like that's a good lineup. I didn't
even say the other thing is a reissue of a 90s band from Australia called Sea Scouts.
Oh, hell yeah. That's sick.
Yeah. And it's like, it never came out. They've had vinyl out, but this is their like masterpiece record that's never came out on vinyl.
Yeah.
And I just like paid to get it remastered. I'm like, I will probably lose money because I've got to ship half of these to Australia, but like, this is like one of the best records that I know of. So I just really want to like get it out.
Again, sometimes you literally have to do this for the culture. You just have to like I'm helping my buddy occasionally with something in Memphis where like, if I can find at a library, Disney VHS tapes, I would send it to him because he's filming his bands and then putting out stuff on those. So we can just upcycle a Disney VHS for him. But he's
like the shell still says it's a Disney thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But he's mentioned like, I'm losing money on doing this, but this is my serious leisure passion. I'm a lifer with this. We want to do this. And then also as a result, you get like you're talking about like being able to step back. It feels to me like you kind of abstracted or gone to a higher level. So then you are connecting the scenes in 30 plus years of things that have happened that have also naturally nurtured on their own and have flourished.
Yeah. Well,
It's
that's
really beautiful to hear like a generational perspective of like that's where DIY can lead to if you just let it stay.
right. And so I'm not even like someone who like loves that bands are just reuniting for no reason at all. And like I know even in the case of like with P and Nuzzle, they're like, we're only kind of like doing this because there's people that never got to see it, that weren't born when these records came out, that care about it now. And like they're like, yeah, we got friends that can come see us, but they saw us. So it's more like to do it for
the people that never got
but
to
also,
see him,
yeah. And like being like, I could sit back and play this sort of 90s rock critic game of if I see a band and be like, that's like this plus this, but like that's not, rewarding in a certain way. That it might have been easy to just categorize something before, but it's like also like I like that people are improving on everything. Like there was definitely people improving on things, and they're not just like slavishly recreating things. But they're like taking. I like it when like it's the spirit of the thing. Like, God, like okay, it's like this band Cell Genesis from Oakland. You know this band?
I feel like I've heard of them. Yeah.
It's like it's almost like live like gabber techno thing with like a live drummer, and then but it's like also I'm like this is fucking, and it's got a crazy strobe light, and I ended up seeing them I guess last year. Like I was up in San Francisco after the fires, and they were playing with Body Double.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't really know what this is going to be like, and it was just like it's like pounding drum programming and then like live drums and like this assault, but it's like it's not punk, but I'm like this is the punkest shit I've seen in a long time, but it's not punk, right? So it is, but it's not, and like that's kind of like what I like to see how these things evolve, right? Like it's completely people that came through that world, or even like there's a lot of bands I could shout out. I'm maybe gonna I'll dial it back a little bit. I just think like I see how things are evolving and how there's still this reverence and reference to old things, but it is like just like fucking this band I saw where like the singer is the daughter of someone in a band I put out a record for. Like, and I didn't even know that when I was seeing that, and later I'm like, oh, I probably saw this kid as a baby.
That's wild.
Yeah, I'll tell you later what it is, but it was it's just seeing that kind of thing just evolve is cool. And then like places like The Smell, I feel like kind of are like still there, and I kind of like think like there's all these bands now that could be playing The Smell, but I don't think they're not their first thought. They're just like, oh, that's a place I used to go or something. Like they don't think about like going back there, and then like that could be the culture of The Smell, like 5.0 at this point or something, right? Like it's
true.
So many waves.
Yeah,
it's like
sure.
But like it's. I mean, it's not really a problem. It's just something I sort of think like, okay, well, this is a resource that people should be using. So, and it's all ages, and I think that's why I've had moments where I'm just in LA and then someone remembers a band I was in because they saw me when they were like in middle school or like high school. Crazy.
Yeah.
And so they have like, they're like, that made an impression on them in a way. Like if I'm sure the people that are my age, they saw me at a bar, like, just like, oh, whatever, it's that guy. It like doesn't make the same impression. Right. It just is like, it's old hat at a certain point. So just like that is the kind of thing I like to see keep going, So I think like all these bands that I'm working with now are, in my mind, fit into kind of the stuff that I was doing before. Even if it's not, I used to be like, I would put out a band. If I'm like, I wish I could join that band. That would be like kind of like my standard for what I wanted to do as a label. I'm like, oh, I wish I'd thought of that, or I wish I could join this band. Yeah. And then that was like kind of like how I would pick bands to work with.
Well, yeah, George. I mean, we just want to thank you for coming out and sharing all these other little dispatches, things that have been going around, some fun stories here.
Where can people also keep up with all things Zoom and George Chen?
Yeah. I would send people to the website, zumonline.com. We're talking about squatting domain names. Didn't get the best one. There are too many other things that had that acronym. It used to be the Google results that came up before us was like a Zion United Methodist Church.
That's funny. That's sick.
Yeah, but zumonline.com, and I'll post my stuff there sometimes. There's a link tree that's the same. I'd say Instagram is kind of where I'm putting a lot of the effort to do outreach is Audio and Instagram. And I used to have a Twitter. I don't really do that anymore.
Yeah, same.
Like Threads. I was trying to do stuff on Threads, but it's not like label specific. That's maybe more just like me having a midlife crisis. I have the shows that I do. I could point people towards the shows that I do. Talkies Comedy on Instagram is my monthly variety show that is at Whammy in Echo Park.
Sick.
On Thursdays. And it's like I said, PowerPoints and character stuff, songs, short films. And then I am part of a show called Birthday Experience. So that's on Instagram. It's just at Birthday Experience. And that's first Fridays at Elysian. And that is my friend Robert Dayton puts on that show. Molly Fight, a puppeteer, is part of that show. Lance Pibenga, who's the house band, and I am the sidekick who does not talk. I am Mike Hands. You can tell I can talk. So it's like a nice break.
Yeah.
I don't talk and I just touch things with my microphone hands. Thanks for having me on. Thank you for finding all this through one weird compilation from 26 years ago or whatever.
It's in the KCSB library.
Yeah, no, that's great. That and
magic.
I just saw my friend Nathan had a sterling silver shirt the other day. He just busted. I was like, I know you'll know what this is. I'm like, this is a very deep cut.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks so much for having me on.
Of course.
Absolutely, George. A true pleasure.
We have one more question, though, that we got to ask. Do you want me to take it, Maddie, or do you want to take it?
Thomas, you got this. You got this. You're running with it.
All right. All right. A rat is going to jump into your mouth. Do you want this rat to jump into your mouth head first or butt first, and why?
Head. Because I could possibly kill it.
Oh,
straight murder.
I respect that. Yeah, that's brutal.
The back, so many things. That tail, I don't want. Like the idea head first is like it's more likely to start eating me, but at least I get a chance to like chomp down.
Yeah, to then fight back a little.
And I feel like with the tail and the back claws, like it's too much meat to work through. I don't.
Oh, the back claws is crazy, and also mentioning like the amount of meat you got to work through is also pretty wild.
Yeah, no, like just this entire question is terrifying, and I don't like it. But now thinking through, I hate it, but also like pragmatically, if I want it to stop, that's my best way to make it stop.
Yeah, I respect that. Logical, you know.
Yeah. And the idea of it backing into your mouth, just untenable.
Yeah. Oh, you're thinking of it slowly. Like you're just like jaw like strapped to like open on a table and the rat's just backing in.
Okay. Well, okay. If my jaw is strapped open, then my whole theory does not work of like guillotining this rat.
True. You wouldn't be able to guillotine it.
Yeah.
There's so much nuance here.
God. I hate this question.
All right. Well, yeah. Thanks again for being on TBD, George. It's been sick. This has been
Thank you so much.
George Chen from Zum Records and a lot of bands, and also stand up.
And you guys from being fans of music and components.
Yeah.
Let's go. Many cheers.